In this video, we're going to be looking at using progressive overload to build muscle. What is progressive overload? How can you achieve it? And what are some practical takeaways to help you progress? You've probably heard of progressive overload and may have used some of the techniques before, but this is a deeper dive to help you understand all of the ways that you can use progressive overload to build muscle. Progressive overload is a training principle referring to stimulating change through gradually increasing the demands on the body. You do more every session and your body will adapt. You may be building muscle, building strength, running faster, running further, improving hand-eye coordination for a sport. Slowly increasing the demands on your body will lead to adaptations. You can increase demand or work harder in many different ways. Some examples are changing speed, tempo, stability, range of motion, rest times, using more advanced techniques, enhance mind muscle connection, volume through sessions or throughout the week. We're talking building muscle. So my focuses for building muscle are usually tempo, stability, range of motion, mind to muscle connection, and volume. You may have heard of volume before. Before you focus on volume, it is important to make sure that tempo, stability, range, and mind muscle connection are considered and adequate. There is no point adding load to a movement that is already limited or unstable. You'll just be risking injury and not getting the most out of your training. Tick these boxes first, then you can consider volume. It's worth noting that throughout your training journey, you will turn back to this list and you will work on some of these other factors again. There's always more to improve on. You will find many top-level bodybuilders who preach a particular progressive overload focus. Some lift heavy and don't worry about mind-to-muscle connections or time under tension. Others swear by mind-muscle connection and time under tension. How I approach my main progressive overload levers. Mind-to-muscle connection is closely linked with tempo, but not always in the way you think. For the most part, if you can't feel your focus muscle in a particular exercise, I recommend two tactics. One, try a very slow movement with a safe weight and give yourself a lot of time to get your mind directed at what the muscle is doing. I love this for teaching glute recruitment for IDLs. The second way is to try a lighter weight and higher reps with a faster pace. I describe this as allowing the reps to do their thing. This is quite useful for lateral raises. It's also quite safe as the weight will be quite light and you'll start feeling that burn. Side note, we're not necessarily looking for the burn to grow muscle, but it is an indicator of focus. We touched on recruitment. Let's discuss. When you're doing a compound movement, it is going to engage many muscles. Lifting a box off the ground uses nearly every muscle you have. Similarly, a squat uses the quads and glutes primarily, but also the adductors, the abductors, hamstrings, and to some extent the core and the upper body, depending on the loading. These are pretend numbers, but let's say you're squatting and you're working about 60% quads and about 40% glutes. Let's also say that you feel your quads a lot. If you're trying to grow your quads, that may be perfect. If you're trying to grow your glutes, this may not be giving them enough stimulus or reason to grow. There are many ways to shift this ratio and get your glutes doing, say, 70% work and your quads doing 30%. As I said, these are random numbers, but this gives you an idea about how you can recruit or bring to work muscles to different degrees in the same movement with minor tweaks and change how much work they are doing. Mind to muscle connection and tempo work can help you find the best way for you to target the muscle you want in the exercise. This means that for every load you lift, more of it is being done by the muscle you want to grow, meaning that your workout will be more efficient and that you'll actually be growing the muscles that you want to grow. For athletic purposes, speed could also be a main focus. For example, a sprinter, a long jumper, a tennis player, or someone doing combat sports. An increase in speed could be a huge game changer in their performance. But let's get back to what I use for muscle growth. We've explained mind muscle connection, time under tension, and speed. Now let's talk about volume. This is a huge focus, and with everything else in check, this can be used a lot of the time. Volume is the total amount that you have lifted with a particular muscle group. It is usually expressed by the load lifted times the reps times the set. So volume can be over a certain session or it can be over the whole week. In a training program, I prescribe a rep range. This range could be 6 to 10 reps, 8 to 12, 10 plus, anything. This is the number of reps in general that I want you to be doing for various reasons. If we're progressively overloading, with volume, what I want is that volume for the exercise to increase every week. And here's how you do it. Let's say you're doing 3 sets of a leg extension with the rep range as 8 to 12. Last week you had the machine set at 40 kilos and you did 10 reps in each set. Your volume for the exercise last week was 40 times 10 times 3. So that's 1,200 kilos. You want to improve this week. Using this formula, you can see how adding 1 rep to each set would result in a higher number. Even adding 1 rep to 1 set will still get us a higher number. Similarly, you can see how increasing only the weight would have a similar impact. This is where it gets fun. What if we modify both? I want to lift more than 1,200 kilos and I want to do the next weight up, which is 48 kilos. But it's going to be very hard and I want to figure out how many I have to do to progress. So I take the amount I want to beat and I want to work out how many reps I would need to get the same amount of volume. Then I can do more. I would type into my calculator 1,200 divided by 3 to get the volume per set, which is 400. Then I divide that volume by the load I want to lift. So I want to lift 48 kilos, 400 divided by 48 means 8.333. This means that if I lift 8.333 reps, I will be doing the same load as I was doing last week. So if I do 9 reps, that will be more. We can check this out. So 48 times 9 times 3 equals 1296. That is 96 kilos more than last week. That is progressive overloading. You can use this formula to figure out the total reps overall in that session and divide them unevenly too. Maybe you get 9 reps, and then 8 because you really can't get any more. This still gives you a total volume of 48 times 26, which is 1248 kilos, which is more than last week. See how then I just combined the reps total instead of timesing the sets and the reps. So you can just put your total reps that you use in that whole session. This is a really useful strategy if you're, for example, feeling really strong and you want to push a heavier weight, or if you're feeling like a lighter weight may be more appropriate this week. You can use a variety of weights and still work out what progress would be. In my training app, when you're on an exercise, you can scroll to the right, you can see your total volume PB for the exercise. That's some of the work done for you. Then you can use these little calculations and you can work out what you want to lift. Also, let's keep in mind that the order your movements are within your plan will affect your ability to progress. If your previous workout began with lunges and now your program ends with lunges, don't expect the same strength to be available. If you're smashing your first few exercises with PBs, this is ideal. I'm not saying forget about the other movements, but be aware that your main focus should be at the start. And if you do destroy yourself or just go really hard at the start, you're not going to have as much strength left at the end of the program, which is absolutely fine. As long as you're progressively overloading those first exercises and doing more every week, that is what you want. So this was a general or not so general look at progressive overloading, in particular from a weightlifting and bodybuilding perspective. I try to make my explanations longer because understanding the concept will help you a lot more than learning a rule. If you're unsure about anything I discussed, please get in touch. If you have any questions or an area that you want to see me focus on next, please let me know. Remember to follow on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook to see more material and to have a chat. Thanks for watching. Also, please let me know if this helped.